Hello everyone, I'm Chris, and this is a full recap of Puss in Boots, released in 2011. If you end up enjoying this video and want to see more from us, then make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to know anytime we upload a new video. Puss in Boots made his first appearance in the Shrek franchise in Shrek 2, released in 2004, and immediately became one of the fans' most beloved characters. So about 7 years later, after appearing in 2 more Shrek sequels, Dreamworks decided to give him his own spin-off movie, Puss in Boots, which did pretty well at the box office, although not as well as the 3 films prior to it. This turned out, though, to be the last installment in the franchise for over a decade, until it was announced earlier this year that they'd be releasing a new story from the Tales of Shrek titled Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So with the movie coming out in just a few weeks, we think it's time we go back through Puss's previous film, which you should make sure to check out if you haven't already, as it'll be linked in the description so you can enjoy it for yourself before continuing on with our recap. And also make sure to go watch each of the 4 Shrek films released prior to it. The movie opens with a narration from the cat himself, as he escapes the imprisonment of a man preparing to collect the reward for his capture, who he also steals a ring from before heading off on the run once again, in search of a way to clear his name. He then makes his way into what we later learn is his hometown of San Ricardo, and wanders into a nearby bar, being mocked and laughed at as he does, but he swiftly gains the respect of and puts fear in those in attendance. He's not looking to cause any trouble though, as he's just seeking his next score, which he's hoping one of them can lead him to. So they reveal that the 2 murderous outlaws, Jack and Jill, have gotten their hands on magic beans. Puss doesn't believe their claims at first, as he'd searched half his life for those beans and came to the conclusion that they don't exist. But the bar's patrons convince him that they are, explaining that once planted, the beans grow a vine to the land of giants and the golden goose that lays golden eggs. So Puss tracks down Jack and Jill and sees that they really are in possession of the magic beans, but on his way into their hotel room, he's interrupted by another cat in a mask who's also seeking to steal them. The 2 cats quickly become hostile towards one another and end up alerting the 2 outlaws of their presence, who fire at them and toss Puss out the window, while the masked cat escapes without harm. The masked cat still continues taunting Puss though, so he chases after them all the way into a bar run by alley cats and challenges them to put up their dukes, but he's instead entered into a dance fight, as it's Dance Fight Tuesday night. Their dance battle soon evolves into a sword fight though, after the masked cat intentionally drops milk onto Puss's boots, and it reaches its end after the masked cat's attack leaves Puss without his sword, so he just whacks them over the head with a guitar. This finally leads them to remove their mask, revealing themselves to be a female cat, Kitty Softpaws, and Puss, upon realizing they're a woman, follows after her.
Senorita, wait. Let me buy you some leche. I am a lover, not a fighter.
As he searches for her though, he's instead met by his old friend Humpty Dumpty, who we learn he had left off on bad terms with. When he was just a young kitten, Puss wound up in the San Ricardo orphanage under the care of a woman named Imelda, who he considers his mother, and there he met a young Humpty, who he quickly befriended after Humpty stood up for him against some bullies, leading him to do the same in return. Later, he learned of Humpty's belief in magic beans, and the 2 formed the Bean Club, united on a great adventure to find the magic beans. But as their journey went on, they began constantly finding themselves in trouble with the law, although Puss was soon able to find a way off this path after Humpty, following another run-in with the San Ricardo guard, began throwing around rocks to let out frustration, and accidentally ended up letting a bull loose that then began rushing towards the captain of the guard's mother. So Puss leaped in and managed to thwart its attack, and for his act of bravery, he was awarded with his signature boots by Imelda. His new status as a hero, though, drove a wedge between him and Humpty, who continued to fall deeper and deeper into the life of a criminal, even proposing to rob the town's bank, but Puss refused and claimed that, although they're brothers, he would not steal with him anymore. So Humpty chose to trick Puss into working with him, claiming he needed his help fighting off Boy Blue and his gang, who he supposedly owed money, but Puss actually ended up unknowingly bringing him to the San Ricardo bank, and was forced into being his getaway driver. As they were making their getaway though, they ended up crashing their carriage, which resulted in all the people's stolen money falling off the bridge and being lost in the ocean. So a betrayed and infuriated Puss chose to leap off of the bridge as well to escape, leaving Humpty behind to be sent to prison. Humpty's hoping they can put the past behind them though, and proposes Puss work with him and Kitty to steal the magic beans and journey to the giant's castle for the golden goose's golden eggs, which they can then use to pay back the people of San Ricardo, and Puss ultimately accepts. So the trio move forward with their plan the following day, which includes Kitty and Puss jumping onto Jack and Jill's cart and stealing the beans from within the lockbox surrounding Jack's hand. while Humpty readies their getaway carriage. Kitty struggles to unlock the box with her knife though, so Puss urges her to use her claws, forcing her to reveal that she doesn't have any. In her outburst, nearly wakes up one of the baby pigs sleeping within the vehicle, but she's able to put it back to sleep with her soft paws while Puss unlocks the box with his claws. She then uses her paws once again to retrieve the beans from Jack's hand, but as the two go to leave, Puss accidentally steps on one of the pig's tails, alerting Jack and Jill of their presence once again, who go to attack them, but the cats are able to gain the advantage and jam the levers connected to their seat, locking them in place. They then tie up their heads and prepare to leap onto Humpty's carriage, but although Kitty's able to, Puss gets knocked loopy by a headbutt from Jill, resulting in him dropping the beans, and while he's distracted regaining possession of them, Jill bites her way through the rope tied around her head and makes her way on top of the cart as well, before grabbing onto and dangling Puss over the edge of the cart. But fortunately, before she can drop him, he's saved by Humpty, who comes crashing into the side of their cart and catches Puss as he falls. And despite Jack and Jill's continued attack, the three manage to escape. They then make their way to what Humpty deems to be the perfect spot to plant the beans, and as they travel, Kitty reveals what happened to her claws, explaining to Puss that she used to have beautiful claws as a stray before a really nice couple took her in, and for some reason unknown to her, they decided to have her claws removed. She appears upset to no longer have them, so Puss comforts her as they arrive at the bean planting location beneath a storm of darkened blue clouds. At the behest of Humpty, they quickly bury the beans, and once planted, the clouds and wind begin swirling around the beans' location, before suddenly vanishing as a tiny weed sprouts from where the beans had been buried. Humpty is confused by what he's seeing, but Kitty suggests that maybe they just need to say something nice to it for it to grow.
Can we just think for a second? Hi, little plant.
The beanstalk continues to grow higher and higher into the clouds before it eventually stops, and the trio then begin playing around in the clouds, now with higher pitched voices due to the thin air, before making their way to the giant's castle after Humpty puts on his golden egg suit. Upon entering, the voices return back to normal, as the air pressure inside is no longer thin, and Puss puts together a plan proposing he fight off the giant while they retrieve the golden eggs. But it turns out, as revealed by Humpty, that there is no giant, as he's been dead for years. There is another creature for them to worry about though, that being the Great Terror, the monster that guards the golden goose, which as Humpty explains, legend says could turn you to stone if you look at it, although no one really knows if that's true since no one's ever walked away from it alive. They manage to avoid its detection though, as they make it across from one side of the land to the other over the canyon below, before eventually making it to a garden of golden eggs where they find the golden goose, and with the monster once again approaching, they decide to just take the goose back with them. As they're making their escape though, they end up falling into the canyon in which they continue to be pursued by the monster, and as they try to get away, Kitty ends up falling into the water, so Puss dives in after her and saves her from drowning, before the group then makes their way down to land. Meanwhile, Jack and Jill are seen still traveling within the deserted area, and eventually stumble upon a telescope with Humpty's name on it, through which they see the beanstalk being cut down, so they begin making their way over to it, as Kitty, Puss, and Humpty continue to celebrate their new collection of gold, with the former two sharing a romantic dance. As they dance, Puss attempts to confess his feelings of affection towards her, but it appears something is causing conflict within her, and as she goes to reveal what that something is, she's interrupted by Humpty, leading her to just head to sleep. So Puss and Humpty go to do the same, but as they sleep, Jack and Jill arrive and knock Puss out, who awakens the next morning being pecked out by crows. Upon awakening, he rushes back to San Ricardo to save his friends from the two murderers, but is shocked to find out that they, along with the bar patrons from earlier, have been working for Humpty the whole time, and that this was all an act of revenge. Following this revelation, Puss is surrounded by the San Ricardo guard, who prepare to arrest him for the robbery of the bank, and although Puss originally plans on fighting his way out, he's convinced not to by Imelda, who begs him to face what he's done, and he obliges, willingly entering their cage while Humpty reveals the golden goose of legend to the people, which is carried in by Kitty, who Puss is shocked and heartbroken to learn was in cahoots with Humpty as well. He's then transported to and thrown into his cell, being made the cellmate of an old man revealed to be Andy Beanstalk, more commonly known as Jack, who it turns out had previously shared a cell with Humpty before he stole his magic beans and left. Jack also reveals that Humpty wasn't only planning on getting revenge on Puss, but on San Ricardo as well, as the Great Terror, who's actually the golden goose's mother, will arrive and search for her baby and be out for blood. So Puss is forced to make an escape plan, which he begins by hypnotizing one of the guards with his big eyes, as we've seen him do many times before throughout the Shrek franchise, and getting him to unlock the door. But the guard quickly snaps out of his hypnosis, so Puss instead instead gets out with the help of Kitty, who knocks the guard out with her paws and apologizes for deceiving him, before also revealing her romantic feelings towards him. The two then fight their way through the rest of the San Ricardo guard, but in order for Puss to escape, Kitty has to stay behind to keep them distracted, which he willingly does as a means of repaying him. So he heads off to track down Humpty, who he at first confronts angrily, prompting Humpty to explain his motives, claiming that when Puss became the town hero, it left him all alone once again, as he was the first real friend he's ever had, and in response, Puss apologizes for hurting him, but says he shouldn't let his pain out on the town, and tries convincing him to stop the Great Terror, which has finally made its way to San Ricardo, and Humpty ultimately agrees to help, hoping to prove there's still some good left in him. So the two quickly track down the goose's mother and lure her towards the bridge and away from town, but as they do that, they're interrupted by Jack and Jill, still seeking more gold, though the heroes are soon aided by Kitty, whose attack leaves the two outlaws to be crushed beneath the goose's feet. Puss and Humpty then finally make it to the bridge, with the goose's mother right behind them, but the bridge soon breaks under the weight of it, and the destruction leaves the golden goose and Humpty dangling over the edge by two separate ends of a rope, which Puss fortunately grabs onto. But Humpty recognizes that he won't be able to save them both, so to save San Ricardo, he lets go of the rope and falls to his presumed death, allowing Puss to save the golden goose and return her to her mother. As he fell though, Humpty shattered into a golden egg, which the goose's mother then takes back with her to the giant's castle, while Puss, having saved the town, is once again recognized by its people as a hero, including his mother, although he's still not viewed in the same light by the town's guards. So after a touching embrace with Imelda, Puss once again heads off on the run. And that was our recap of Puss in Boots. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And also, let us know in the comments below how excited you are for the new Puss in Boots sequel releasing next month. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.